Flying gets in your blood, and you don't get rid of it.
Clyde Cessna could be put in the same category as Henry Ford, Thomas A. Edison, and many other giants of the time. He was a natural-born genius.
In today's world, where our advances in travel have dulled many of us to the point of where a flight delay can ruin a trip, it's easy to dismiss the childlike wonder and innocence our pioneers of aviation felt in the early 20th century. There were many who risked their livelihoods, and often their lives, pursuing that lovely bastion known as progress. Clyde Cessna was one of those people.
All I ever wanted was to get from one place to another as fast as possible.
Clyde Vernon Cessna was born in Hawthorne, Iowa, in, I believe, 1879. His parents moved to the Rago area, I believe, around 1881, thereabouts, with the older brother, Roy. Clyde Cessna, I think, really called Kansas home.
And one night, as I was sleeping, I had a dream that my brother Roy was flying a kite, and I was hanging on to the tail of that kite, just soaring above the prairies and looking down at the cattle and the people below. And I told my dad about that dream, and he said, "Well, Clyde, you know, that's one of those dreams that never come true. You know, if God wanted man to fly, he'd have made him with wings." But you know, I remembered that dream, and I thought, boy, it'd sure be nice to fly.
Clyde married his wife Europa in 1906 and found success selling overland automobiles, when one day an event changed his life in the course of aviation history.
There was going to be a flying exhibition in Oklahoma City. 25,000 people gathered to watch this exhibition, and when they got all done, they handed those pilots $10,000. And I said, "Roy, we need to get home and start building us an airplane."
After convincing Europa that the family's future was in aviation, Clyde set out for New York so that he could learn how to build and fly a plane of his very own.
And then they took me up in the airplane, gave me several rides in several different planes. Now, mind you, they never would give me the controls, but they did whet my appetite as I flew around the city, and I looked down and I thought to myself, "Dad, you know that dream I had when I was just a boy? Those dreams can come true."
Back then, you know, people were good mechanics, but they're also good woodworkers. Of course, the whole airplane is made out of wood, and a lot of the craftsmanship that people had back then could be used in many different directions in building an airplane.
You built this home built, you don't have a license or flown an airplane. And here is this young man in his 30s, a farmer by trade. He climbs in an airplane, and his brother asks him, "Do you know how to fly this thing?" He says, "No, but you know, I'll get the hang of it." And there, after many failed attempts, with the tenacious spirit that he had, Clyde lifted off, I believe, in June of 1911.
On December 17, 1911, Clyde completed his first successful flight. He then moved home to Kingman County, Kansas, where he flew air exhibitions and farmed to support his family.
He always believed in speed. Clyde Cessna, that was his real passion about airplanes, that they had to be fast and very fuel efficient and very practical.
Now armed with first-hand knowledge of aviation, Clyde and Roy began to build planes out of the J.J. Jones Auto Plant in Wichita. In December 1917, the plant was forced to close due to the country's involvement and supply needs to fight the First World War. Unsure of his aviation future, Clyde went back to his farming roots. He began a successful custom wheat threshing business, which soon became the source of income for his family.
I figured my building airplane days were probably over, but just because I wasn't doing anything in the airplane business didn't mean things weren't happening. We've got all these pilots that had flown these Jennies, they learned how to fly, and now they wanted to have their own airplane.
In 1925, Walter Beach and Lloyd Stearman approached Clyde to be an investor and partner in their new aviation venture. Clyde agreed, and the three men opened the Travel Air Company in Wichita. Once again, Cessna was designing aircraft.
Wow, and they were still building biplanes, and Beach built biplanes up into the 40s, but Cessna wanted to build mono wings or single wings, and then he even started building without struts on to get rid of the drag.
See, Clyde looked at it from the standpoint of practicality. His high-wing A-series was developed from the Fokker design of the cantilever wing. And what he was able to do with that is match a light airframe with then the latest engine technology.
In 1927, Clyde sold his stock in Travel Air and opened the Cessna Aircraft Company with the intention of selling his A-series planes.
His whole purpose later on when he founded the Cessna Aircraft Company was to give the common man the opportunity of owning an airplane and using business airplane transportation as an everyday experience.
After his new design defeated the competition in a major air race, demand for Clyde's planes skyrocketed. Cessna broke ground on a larger plant in 1929, but due to the Great Depression, the plant was forced to close in 1931.
Air races were a big influence in getting Cessna on the map in terms of recognition in the United States and around the world. The air races at the time, you could compare it with NASCAR today.
Determined to continue his legacy in aviation, Clyde and his son Eldon opened the CV Cessna Aircraft Company in 1931. There they designed and built champion planes for the air races until a tragic accident killed Clyde's good friend and best pilot, Roy Liggett.
Roy Liggett was flying one day, kind of a closed circuit, in I believe the CR2 or the Miss Wanda, because it was named for Clyde's daughter. And he was low to the ground, he impacted in, it was a fatal crash. Clyde Cessna took it so hard, it really took the wind out of his passion to a large extent for aviation.
Something died inside of me that day. I would never have the desire to build airplanes and go fast ever again. I turned the keys of the company over to Dwayne in 1936 with a stipulation to never take the name of Cessna off the water tower. I hope I have instilled in Dwayne the desire to design and build the safest and most efficient airplanes in the world.
Clyde moved back to the homestead near Kingman, where he farmed and continued his threshing business until his death in 1954.
Yes, he was early in the morning till late at night, and he was never a man to loaf. He was a handyman with machinery, and he understood their operation. I think he farmed his ground, even though he had his threshing crew.
The legacy and pioneering spirit of Clyde Cessna lives on today through Tom Turning, who built the only flying replica of Cessna's first plane, Silverwings.
There was none of them flying in the world, and it was pretty interesting. I lived in Valley Center, which is a suburb of Wichita, and I thought it'd be an interesting thing to build the airplane and see how it all started in Wichita, how all the air worked and how Cessna actually got started. I've always liked old things, and I seen a picture of Clyde Cessna's Silverwings, and there was no drawings for it, so I copied it off some pictures that I got from him, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. I've flown this airplane from Wichita to Minneapolis, Minnesota and back. What a wonderful way to see the country. It's a joy to fly, and it's just a passion that once you get used to lifting off the ground and seeing the country, I can fly every day and never get tired of it. I've built a lot of airplanes, and my nephew and I built an airplane, and I'd flown it quite a bit. And in September of 2002, I took off like I normally did with it, but they tell me it lost power. I don't remember a thing of it. It busted me up pretty good, and I was in the hospital for a little over 2 months. But one of the first things I did when I got out was get Silverwings out and go for a flight. It's still in my blood.
Clyde Cessna is the founder of the Cessna Aircraft Company, the gold standard in aviation, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Cessna made his money in agriculture and his fame in aviation. Even to the day I think he passed, though, in my personal opinion, is I still think that Clyde Cessna still loved aviation.